Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
Hello, everybody.
Hi there.
This is Mimi, Liron, Lola, and Louise.
Yes.
Recording a podcast. Louise and Lola might be a little quiet.
It's
but,
the whole fam-damily, as my mother would say.
Yes, and thank you for joining us again. We know we've been a little scarce, but we're tired. Talking to you has really done us in this year. So this will be a little long, probably. We hope you bear with us because
we have good things to talk about.
We haven't done a podcast in a while, and we're gonna skip next week's podcast so we can get a little rest, and Mimi can have her birthday and Thanksgiving. So. But we managed to tally 65 primetime shows over the last God knows how long.
And we didn't even include some of the ones I watched.
Right. Out of these 65, 37 were written or co-written by a woman. That's 57%. And 26 were directed by a woman, which is 40%. So all in all, it's a very big sample.
Yes.
Including network and non-network shows.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot to tell you about today. And we're going to start with a giveaway. We're happy to be back giving things.
Yes. This close to Christmas.
Exactly, and this is an actual physical gift for you. We have 5 copies each of the first season of Emily in Paris and the complete series of Younger, both from, of course, Emmy Award-winning creator of Sex and the City, Darren Star, and the DVDs are full of bonus features, including deleted scenes and behind-the-scenes featurettes, and anyway, it sounds like a really fun gift that you can get for free.
And that you can re-gift if you don't like them. But I know there are especially a lot of younger fans out there.
Yeah.
You theater folk.
Right. So we have 5 copies of each. So email us or send us a message on social media and tell us that you want one or both. And the first 5 to claim them, you will give us your addresses, your physical addresses, and we will forward them to the Santa Claus that will send you the DVDs. So do it now, Younger and Emily in Paris. And if you are not one of the 5, we still urge you to look into the DVDs and the Blu-rays. You might find that you want to get them for yourself or a friend. And now we have lots of movies to tell you about, starting with...
The Eyes of Tammy Fay. This is the non-documentary. This is a feature, narrative feature.
Available now both on digital and Blu-ray and DVD.
Yes, and it's directed by Michael Showalter, written by Abe Sylvia, and starring the incredible,
magnificent,
unbelievable, magnificent Jessica Chastain as Tammy Faye Baker, Andrew Garfield as Jim Baker, Cherry Jones, and Vincent D'Onofrio, among other people. But really, this movie, which is an intimate look, they say, and it is, at the beginnings, the middle, the end, and the redemption of Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, the famed...
Well, he wasn't redeemed, but she...
Well, he was to some degree, but the famed and often ridiculed televangelist... Tammy Faye was bigger than life, but this movie takes a loving look at her. And it actually takes the style of Tammy Faye throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. The movie is big and bright and bold and sometimes over the top, but at its center...
It's loving.
Is a huge heart.
Yeah.
One that appreciates Tammy Faye, that understands her, that loves her, and that shows her to be a pure soul.
I love that you captured it very well, that the movie really, in its essence, kind of televised who she was. It's true. It took on the characteristics of Tammy Faye.
Yes.
And
And
I didn't know. I didn't even know who she was.
Well, that's why I wanted to do this, because I did know who she was, and I realize now why she was such a gay icon. Not because she was a diva, but because much against the religious
community,
especially at the time and forever, really. She was pro-gay.
She was pro-human.
She was pro-human, but she went out of her way.
Yes.
There's a beautiful interview with a gay man who has AIDS during the AIDS crisis that was taken from real life. Mm-hmm. She embraced gay culture, gay men, gay homosexuality, and she insisted on
including gay people as
them
part
in the
of,
ministry. Yes. It's a fascinating film. I didn't know anything behind it, who really they were, who much about the ministry. God knows I didn't watch and the network.
And see, the reason I'm saying that I didn't even know who she was, to say that you don't have to, in order to enjoy this film, you don't have to know the background, you don't have to know the actual people. The film is just so captivating, and she as a character is so captivating, and knowing that she's real and that this was a real story is just a bonus.
And I think that just give the makeup department an Oscar right this second, because honestly, without looking freaky, Jessica Chastain looked like Tammy Faye Baker, and her energy and vivacity and sweetness and humor, goodness, it really shone through.
This is by far, and Jessica Chastain is a superb actress, and she's done much. This is by far my favorite thing that she's ever done. I saw this and I was like, just give her the Oscar right now. I'm in love with this character, and it's
a big year.
No, I know, but what I mean is it's Oscar worthy.
Oh, for sure.
Because I'm in love with this character, even though I had every reason not to like her at all, and most of it is due to Jessica Chastain's just soulful portrayal that was so varied and full of range. I'm in love with this movie. I'm in love with this character, and I would never have anticipated that.
It's a very surprising film, and
I didn't think I would love it at first.
Well, at first it was because
it was odd.
It was bigger than life.
Yes.
It was a little. It felt a little fake. It felt a little artificial. It was too bright. It was too much. It was very Tammy Faye.
Give it a minute
until you got to the heart of it.
Right.
And then it was just a beautiful portrait of a very misunderstood and mistreated and
I wish there were more people like that in that field.
Exactly. Yes, because you will see Jerry Falwell and
a close relation.
Yes, not a good man.
The Eyes of Tammy Fay is available now. We cannot recommend it more highly. Please check it out. You will enjoy it very much.
Yes.
Another very big movie this year is Spencer, in theaters now. I don't think it's available digitally, unfortunately. Directed by Pablo Larraín and written by Stephen Knight. You may guess or you may know, this is about Diana. And it's you kind of can almost think, well, do we need another movie about Diana? I mean, what is there more to say, especially in a year after The Crown, which really not only has brought Diana's story back into the center stage, but also had a chance to explore it in so many ways that other movies never had because it was a series. But this is a very different approach, and actually it does have a new thing to say, a new story to tell, starring Kristen Stewart, who, on account of Diana's actual real-life bodyguard, he said that as far as all the actresses who ever played Diana, Kristen Stewart in this performance was the one who was closest to capturing Diana's essence, and I think that is a huge compliment.
Oh my God, yes.
To me, I always see Kristen Stewart because she's so specifically Kristen Stewart, but she did manage to take on a lot of Diana's mannerisms, and more than anything, she captured her sadness, which Kristen Stewart is very good at.
Yes, but she also captured her spirit and her spunk and her need to express herself in amongst a crowd of people who did not want her to express herself.
Right. So this was interesting because it was actually taking place over the course just of Christmas, where the family gets together to celebrate Christmas in their
Sandringham.
in their extremely ridiculously ancient traditions.
And by the family, we mean the royal family.
Of course, and how you can feel the oppressiveness of it all. But what's interesting is how she relates to the staff. Actually, more than the
They
family,
were her friends,
including a very beautiful relationship with Sally Hawkins,
who is her dresser.
Who's a dresser, when I started seeing this, I thought this is Princess Diana meet Black Swan, because it has a lot of these kind of very disturbing elements. The music is very...
it's beautifully shot.
And there is one point in the film where it almost gets derailed into a complete off the rails place, which I wouldn't have liked. But they managed to bring it back just soon enough to not go there completely, and then they grounded it back in reality and in actual relationship, and then that it made that segment actually very poignant and very meaningful, right? Which actually centered around her dancing, so it's even more meaningful. It was very, very good and different and fascinating, and ultimately, as everything about Diana is,
sad.
so very sad. But I think it's a very, very much worth your time. I don't know that it will tell you a lot of new stuff, but it will position it in an interesting way that will kind of just be a good movie to watch, whose characters you just know already, and it will give you another little perspective on Diana that you maybe never thought, and the royal family in general.
And just in case you didn't hate Charles enough already, this movie will give you more reason to loathe him.
Yes, he's not having a good year, is he?
No. But Josh O'Connor is.
Spencer is available in theaters right now, and we highly recommend you watch it. I don't like encouraging people to go to the theater at this time, but it will come out soon, and you will be able to watch it in the comfort and safety of your own home.
I don't know if you're the kind of people who get depressed around the holidays.
In that case, don't watch this film.
Don't watch this film until after the holidays. It's called No Future.
Sounds already very optimistic,
wasn't warning
right?
enough already. Written and directed by Andrew Irvine and Mark Smoot, starring Catherine Keener and Charlie Heaton and others. Jackie Earle Haley in a nice turn. I'll give you a brief little summary.
I think
Will's friend, his estranged friend, dies of an overdose, and
Will himself is a recovering
addict, and he returns home where he's reunited with his friend's mother, Claire, played by the wonderful Catherine Keener. They
form a
romance ensues. And
we apologize, by the way, if you can hear the power tools in the background. No. We waited all day, and they just didn't stop.
This is Martha's Vineyard. Isn't that why you come to Martha's Vineyard, for the constant power tools in the background? Anyway, it is a deeply depressing film, but it's very good.
Very good.
It's a really good film. It's a very good depiction of as so many things are these days.
About how addiction ruins families.
Yes, how addiction
lives.
does not just kill the addicted, it destroys the lives of the people around them, the people who love them most. I like these kinds of films.
Yeah.
I like small films that are character studies, that are dark and tragic.
And even though it was depressing and sad, it was never boring.
No,
it was
not
never
for
slow.
a second. The acting is superb, and hopefully it will keep you from ever taking an addictive drug.
Yeah, this is, we're getting more and more, of course, of these movies about the opioid crisis, because it is a crisis. And this is a very good opportunity to also circle back and recommend again that you watch Dope Sick on Hulu, which we just finished watching, and I believe the last episode is either already available or is coming next week.
It's a stunningly powerful series.
It was just mind-blowing, pun intended. And so important because, again, this is real. It's real life. It is exactly what happened. I also watched the documentary, so I know that it's mostly true to life. And at the same time that they have all the real life and the scientific and the political and the all of that stuff, they also have these again character portraits of these real people and how their lives are affected. I mean, I don't know that they're based on real people, but these actual characters whose lives are affected, and it's just a beautifully told story. Even though it manages to combine.
Are you talking about Dope Sick?
Yes, it manages to combine so many different elements and weave them together seamlessly and go back and forward in time without making me feel confused. Really, it was just a brilliant show.
And the Sackler family, who owned Purdue Pharma. Are just the kind of people you would expect Big Pharma to be, unfortunately. And as I remember being a kid, watching television or hearing the news when there was a mass murder, or always my grandmother or my mother would always say, "Thank God they weren't Jewish."
Or this
time they are, and it's really upsetting.
Yes, it is.
But anyway, let's get back really quickly to No Future. It does have a future. It's a fine film. Just know that it isn't cheerful, and I think the name will tell you that. I recommend it.
Yes, I do too. It's available on VOD now, and Catherine Keener is just always so good.
So superb.
So good. Also available in theaters on demand and on digital right now is a movie called Ida Red, written and directed by John Swab and starring Melissa Leo, who we thought was the main reason to even want to see the film.
Even though it turns out to be a small part.
Small but mighty.
Yes, but I love also Josh Hartnett.
Yes, and Sophia Hublitz from Ozark, William Forsythe, Deborah Wall, Frank Grillo,
Guide and Light
so a very fine cast. And this is it's kind of a genre film that deviates from the genre, and that's what I like. I always like genre films that just kind of defy the genre a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is about a crime family, and the crime boss is, of course, Melissa Leo, who from prison is operating the business and her family and tries to help get her out of prison. There's a heist or a heist attempt. So again, this is it reminded me a little bit of Animal Kingdom, but very different, just in the structure, kind of.
Well, yes.
And again, it's a genre film, but it actually is kind of off center. So we really liked it. It was very surprising to us. We enjoyed it. Again, Melissa's role was not that huge. But I like her in that role of the matriarch.
Yes, she was an unglamorous Smurf, Ellen Barkin, but very much the same type of matriarch, crime matriarch. Yeah,
if you like that sort of thing, then I think you'll appreciate this because again, it deviated from the genre just enough to make it more interesting. And very interesting music choices I thought throughout the film was very interesting. Ida Red is available right now to rent, so you can check it out. And for our last movie, and then we have a very important show to talk to you about. This one is a documentary. It's called Speer Goes to Hollywood. Right now, they're screening it in LA and New York. Hopefully, soon enough, it will be more widely distributed, and you can check it out for yourself, no matter where you are. Directed by Vanessa Lapa. This is the story of Albert Speer, who basically was Hitler's architect.
That's how he is known.
And he was actually the architect, as opposed to the architect of the final solution. He was his architect. He built his buildings, and he, considered he got a chance through Hitler to be the full-blown narcissist that he was and aggrandize himself. And at some point, he was in charge of millions of slaves who worked for him, who were basically the prisoners of the Nazi regime. He claims that he didn't really know where they came from. He wasn't the one who hired them. I'm not sure what was going on. Yeah, I know about one concentration camp. I didn't realize the extent of that. Anyway.
Bullshit.
The guy got off with very minimal punishment, as far as I'm concerned, during the Nuremberg trials, and went on to write a book that made him millions of dollars. And this is the story of that time when they were actually considering making a Hollywood film about his story.
1971-ish.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting to see that they actually were going back and forth on the script. There were what I think are actual tapings of sessions between him and the filmmaker, going back and forth on what to put in, what to put out, what to change. And so it was very interesting on one hand to see, in general, to see how movies that are quote unquote based on a true story, how they're made and how close are they really to the true story. Ultimately, the movie didn't make it because it was whitewashing, basically,
Speer's,
yes, it was making him, it was
yeah.
aggrandizing him and completely minimizing his responsibility in what, in what happened in Nazi Germany. I was a little confused because I wasn't sure which perspective I'm supposed to take on this, so I found it a little confusing, but ultimately the story itself is very fascinating, and be warned, this movie had a lot of footage that I haven't seen before, but be warned, it's very graphic.
I couldn't watch.
So, very interesting. Again, I feel that when it comes to World War II and the Holocaust, there is no limit to the stories you can tell, and they will all be interesting. And every year, yes, of course. And every year something else comes out that I never knew of and never heard of before, and it's all just endlessly fascinating. So this is Speer Goes to Hollywood. I can only credit Hollywood with the fact that they ended up not making the film.
Exactly.
Finally, we've been wanting to tell you about this for weeks. This is a show that is on Netflix now. It's called Maid, created by Molly Smith Metzler, based on the book by Stephanie Land, and directed, amongst others, by John Wells and Helen Shaver, two of my favorite TV directors.
Oh, John Wells is a genius.
Of ER fame and genius. Starring Margaret Qualley and her mother, Andie MacDowell, which I love to see the chemistry of the two of them playing mother and daughter in real life and in the movie.
The best thing I think Andie MacDowell has ever done.
I never actually liked her as an actress. I found her to be quite boring.
Good reason.
Yes, but she just blossomed in this. I don't know if part of it was the chemistry of playing against her opposite her own daughter, but also
something
came to life.
Something touched her deeply, and she was so full of life and radiance and
what an interesting character.
Oh my goodness, talk about narcissist.
She had a lot. Well, no, she wasn't a narcissist. She was an extreme bipolar.
Yes, but
anyway, and also I have to give a very special mention to Raelia Nevea Whittet, who plays Maddie, the young daughter, who I think is 4?
I think
3?
it's Riley, 3, 4. She was 3-ish in the.
She was the most edible thing I've ever seen on television. She has the best temperament I've ever seen on a child, let alone a child actor. She was just the most. I don't know how.
Just a ray of light, and you could see why her mother.
But she also
would do
knew how
anything.
to be painful many times. Yes. She was just a very good actress at an age when I don't even know how you explain acting to a child. Oh, she was delightful.
Yes.
And
Anika
Noni Rose was sublime, as she always is, in a role that I wish were bigger.
Yes.
Tracy Villar, Billy Burke, B.J. Harrison, Nick Robinson.
Nick
Brilliant
Robinson was
cast.
wonderful.
Yeah, some of these people I've never seen before, and I just thought they were mind-blowing.
And I have to say, by the end of the first episode, while it was brilliant, I didn't want to watch anymore.
Right.
It was too depressing. One terrible thing after another happens to this girl. And
let me just say what the show is so that they understand.
Okay.
This is a young woman, a mother of this young daughter, who tries to escape an abusive relationship and a very difficult family background. And she has so much resilience and so much. She's so resourceful. She is trying to do the best for her daughter, but one after the other, people keep bringing her down, life keeps bringing her down, institutions keep bringing her down, politics, social,
Bureaucracy.
yeah, just it's one thing after another. No matter how much she tries and how much gumption and how much faith, you can't help but just be very depressed and helpless, feel very helpless. And that first episode really establishes just from what dire straits she comes, and that's why it feels so unbearable.
And there's plenty more to come, but it is ultimately a story of redemption. And she doesn't need to be redeemed. But
no,
I mean,
it's a story of
it
triumph
has
and
triumph.
of
yes, and so
the
know
human
that
spirit
is that it has an upward trajectory.
And I do want to say, because I think it's important, that no matter how difficult and painful the relationships in our life are, ultimately there are no villains.
That's true,
Everybody
except
is
for-
trying.
No, not even the state. I mean,
Well, that's
yes,
a different story.
Yes, but that social worker who at first seemed so.
No, I would say the system is
Yes,
at fault.
the system.
The people in the system,
system.
were all trying to do their best, and also the people in her life. Ultimately, what I loved was that they gave them a full three-dimensional treatment, so we knew where they were coming from, and what. Especially, I think, really what this show did was show the generational, the intergenerational passing on of difficulties and pathologies and ways of relating and pain and abuse and all that stuff. It just goes to show how people are really ultimately they have to break the cycle of the generational passing on of all these things, and it does it beautifully.
Margaret Qualley is quite wonderful, but she's almost overwhelmed by the story and the supporting cast because she's so put upon, and she plays that so brilliantly. But she rises, she keeps up. I really liked her.
I think that actually I loved her. I think she actually, in a very subtle way, managed to kind of walk that very fine line between I could break any minute, but I do have a strength that I don't even know where it came from, but I know it keeps me going.
And for my child.
And for my child, absolutely. But she also has a sense of humor,
Yes,
and she
did.
And
She was
she's
smart
extremely
and talented.
accepting and tolerant. There were many times when I couldn't understand where she
didn't slap someone in the face.
Yes, which also goes to show, again, she was used to being abused, but she's much more balanced in temperament than I would ever expect the child of that kind of mother to be. And this is based on a true story, and the book of this woman who and the various people that she meets along the way who are helpful, sometimes despite themselves, sometimes they have to go through their own process in order to be helpful, and the intersection of their meeting brings out the best in both of them. It is just a beautiful study of humanity, of psychology, of the human psyche.
And the human spirit.
And relationships. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful in
Her
so many ways.
relationship with Regina, Anika Noni Rose's character, is
My favorite.
My favorite of the.
That's why I'm saying
of
I
the
wish
whole-
there were more of that. Yeah.
It's so fascinating and it's so transformative. But it is, don't miss it. Don't be
miss
put
it.
off by the first and even some of the second.
I mean, I wasn't, so it's not like you
But
would be.
I usually am not. My spirit was broken
Well,
at the end of the first episode.
You know, the thing is that it's the injustice of the
That's
fact
it.
that so many women live like that. And what was interesting also about her relationship with Regina, with Anika Noni Rose's character, is that Regina really, again, it was a very subtle show, in very subtle ways, reflected to, I think, a lot of people, the things that we take for granted. We don't have to be as rich as Anika Noni Rose's character was to take for granted certain things
what we have.
Well, and the way that we think certain things work in the world, but you don't know what it's like when you come from a different socioeconomic background or different race or a different different family background. All these things contribute to how you navigate the world, and this world can be so oppressive to so many people, and especially women, and especially women who try to be independent and single mothers, and just again how so much is stacked against a lot of people. and it will make you so angry.
Oh, you'll be enraged, but you'll be moved, and you'll laugh,
and again, and ultimately,
you'll cheer her on,
and you will
you'll
feel
be
inspired,
rewarded.
and you'll feel inspired that despite all of it, because my tendency is to just say, oh my God, this is a horrible world, put the covers over my head and just say, what's the point? And when I see somebody like that, I feel very inspired that, again, the power of the human spirit ultimately is amazing.
Maid on
Maid,
Netflix.
just watch it.
Don't miss it.
Thank you for joining us. Again, I think we will have to take a break next week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, but we will be watching plenty of things so that when we come back, we'll have a lot to tell you about.
We're always watching.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.